So first of all, before we get started, my name is Matthew Edwards. I'm the Vice Chair for Silverdale Business and basically just going to be facilitating this and get through it. So before we start, just a couple of little housekeeping things. This is the first event in a series, so hopefully it doesn't happen with too many issues. But as we go through, it'll hopefully smooth out a little bit. And down the side here, we do have, to your right hand side, there's a questions section where you can throw in questions. We will get to those at the end, but if you think of any as we go through, throw them in there. If I see any that are urgent ones, then yep, I'll kind of step in and ask the question as we go. Otherwise, there is a general chat function as well, so you can sort of connect in there if you wish. Before we get started, though, also want to thank Destination Orewa Beach and Business Whangaparoa for helping us sort of put this together and get the word out. And finally, thanks to Kayleen, Bronwyn, and Bronwen, who are going to be actually talking for the rest of this. So the order for this is Bronwyn, the director at Career Logic. She's going to give a little bit of a talk around identifying a career pathway and basically discovering what you love. Then Kayleen will be talking around how to make yourself stand out when applying for these jobs. And finally, Bronwyn, a director at Davenports, will talk about tips and tricks that she's, well, from her own experience as an employment lawyer. And then, like I said, at the end, we'll have time for some questions and answers. And that's kind of it. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass it over to Bronwyn from Career Logic to start her conversation. So I will share the presentation and we can get going.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Matt is going to be assisting me with my slides today. So welcome to everyone joining this webinar today. I really appreciate you giving up your time to hang out with us this afternoon. I'd like to open by acknowledging the quality of questions that were sent my way leading up to today. I've actually taken the liberty of using these to format the content of my presentation. So hopefully by the end, I will have attended to most, if not all, of your questions. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the Silverdale Business Association's webinar series. My name is Bronwyn Wilde and I am the founder and director of Career Logic Limited, a coaching space dedicated to the career explorer, and I'm your first presenter for today. So next slide, please, Matt. Thank you. So a little bit about me. Career Logic is my passion project and was born from years, if not decades, of first-hand research, observation and reflection into my own career journey and the decisions I've made, for better or for lessons learned, the opportunities I've pursued, as well as those I didn't run with. And I've been just as curious about the career journeys of my clients and my colleagues, and I guess always have been particularly interested in how we come to identify a career pathway so that it embodies our unique career preferences. And by this I mean, does there exist an alignment between yourself and your career choice and subsequent experiences? Because in addition to income and lifestyle, our careers also provide us with other factors that contribute to our overall sense of well-being. And these include social connection, identity, and one's sense of purpose. And before I dive into my presentation today, I wanted to share, I guess, my own lens on career pathway identification. And to do this, I'd like to reference Jay Shetty. He once said something that made me sit up in my chair, and that was that there exists an urban myth shared by well-meaning folk that has actually done us all a great disservice. And what he was referring to is the piece of advice that many of us will have received, and that is that we can be anything we want to be. Now, Jay actually pointed out that this is incorrect. We can't be anything we want to be, but rather he says what we should be channeling our energies into is becoming everything that we can be. And as a career exploration coach, I'm committed to my clients investigating, identifying, and becoming everything that they can be. So, well done, Matt. Thank you. So, some definitions. I'd like to take a moment just to provide, I guess, some context to career exploration coaching by way of 3 definitions. Firstly, the word career. On the CDAN's website, the definition of career is one that resonates with me, and I wanted to share that with you all. Everyone has a career. Career is a holistic term embracing the sequence and variety of work roles, both paid and unpaid, that a person undertakes throughout a lifetime. This includes life roles in the home and the community, leisure activities, learning and work. So work, learning and life, though sometimes distinct, are closely intertwined. And this was actually penned by the Ministry of Education circa 2009 and still has currency today. And what I love about the definition is that it mirrors my own take on the word career. Because when I think about the narrative surrounding the career experience, I don't take a silo view or think in terms of a column graph, but rather I think about the word career in terms of, for example, the wheel of life, or a pie graph, which I feel beautifully illustrates the interconnectedness and the interdependency between all areas of our lives. The second definition you'll see on the slide is career exploration. And this signals a time of transition, and it's the act of investigating and identifying viable career opportunities that fit with our unique career preferences. So if we look at the definition of exploration, we see that it is the activity of searching for or finding out about something. And in this case, that something is our career. And when I refer to viable, I simply mean that a selected career pathway should complement our knowledge, skills, and ability. In essence, we want to experience a career in which we can thrive. And our unique career preferences are those qualities we would like to see satisfied by our career. For example, our interests, our values, skills, work styles, and team orientation, to name a few. And finally, coaching. On the International Coaching Federation website, coaching is described as partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So when I present these 3 definitions to you, I'm actually coming to you from my happy place. I'm combining my interest in the experience of career, my love of the coaching dynamic, and the importance of the value of alignment between self and a chosen career pathway. Thank you, Matt. So the purpose of career exploration coaching in a nutshell, the purpose of career exploration coaching is to jumpstart the investigation and identification of a viable career pathway. But perhaps more importantly, it's also about shifting from a mindset of waiting for your career to happen to you to being proactive and making things happen. And what I'm talking about here is the concept of self-determination, which is basically one's ability to make choices and manage one's own life. And self-determination also impacts our motivation. We feel more motivated to take action when we know our actions will directly impact our outcomes. So when I say the purpose of career exploration, coaching is the development of self-determination, I'm talking about the career explorer tapping into their internal locus of control, or what I call thinking about and activating one's career from the inside out. And as you can see from this slide, career exploration begins with enhancing self-awareness, which in itself is essential in building a foundation for change. Secondly, expanding opportunity awareness through exploration and research. And lastly, making informed decisions leading to purposeful and consistent action. Next slide, please, Matt. Thank you. So before I share this slide with you, the why of career exploration, I'd like to digress by referencing a report titled Job Satisfaction and Wellbeing, circa 2019, and published by Statistics New Zealand. And this report illustrates the negative impact of employment dissatisfaction on life, health, and mental wellbeing scores, which only further reinforces the importance of purposeful career exploration. Amongst the findings, both positive and negative, by the way, the report noted 3 points that I would like to share with you. Number one, those dissatisfied with their employment are less satisfied with life overall. Number two, those dissatisfied with their employment are more likely to rate their general health low. And the third point, poor mental well-being is higher for those dissatisfied with their employment. So in summary, individuals who were dissatisfied with their employment had similar well-being outcomes as the unemployed, with lower overall life satisfaction and life worthwhile scores, and poorer health outcomes than those who were found to be satisfied with their employment. And I find this commentary sobering, and it also fuels my enthusiasm for the promotion of purposeful career exploration activity. And if anyone from the audience today is interested, I'm happy to provide you with the link should you wish to take a deep dive into the numbers and supporting literature. So coming back to my slide, and to a program that, as a career exploration coach, I'm super excited about. And I think it's one of the greatest initiatives to come out of the career development space for quite some time. And that is firstly the research Drawing the Future, conducted in 2019, and the resulting program called Inspiring the Future Aotearoa. So in October 2019, a national survey was conducted by the Tertiary Education Commission called Drawing the Future, where students from years 3 through to 8 were asked to draw a picture of the job they would like to do when they grew up. And in total, there were contributions from 7,700 primary and intermediate students from around New Zealand, which when compared with other countries is an excellent level of engagement. Now, Tim Fowler, the Chief Executive of the Tertiary Education Commission, is quoted as saying, and again, I would like to share this with you, "This is a significant piece of research that provides robust evidence into the career aspirations of 7 to 13-year-olds and factors that influence their career choices." And I'd like to just very quickly summarise some of those findings with you. Boys were 4 times more likely than girls to aspire to be an engineer, and girls were 14 times more likely than boys to aspire to be a beauty therapist, makeup artist, hairdresser, or barber. And children at lower decile schools were less likely than children in higher decile schools to aspire to careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. And I would like to point out that the New Zealand findings match international findings, showing how unconscious bias caused by race, gender, and socioeconomic status can have an early effect on career choice. And Tim Fowler, again, believes that we need to engage our children in a wider range of occupations if New Zealand as a country is to thrive, but also our future generations who we hope to enjoy satisfying and lifelong careers. And so from this research, a new program was designed to broaden children's career aspirations and challenge stereotypes that limit their future potential. And it's called Inspiring the Future Aotearoa. Inspiring the Future events are hosted by schools and provides children with the important link between education and the world of work. And this is in addition to children learning about different occupations, why people love doing what they do, as well as how they got started in their career. And these events are held in person, online, and all the role models who are participating are volunteers. And they're showcasing not only their occupation, but also the industry within which they belong. So I do want to give a plug here for the program, and if there is anyone in our audience today who would like to volunteer to share your career journey with the next generation, please make contact with me, or you may wish to simply Google Inspiring the Future Aotearoa. So we'll go next slide, Matt. Thank you. Okay, so the career exploration puzzle. As you can see, career exploration can be viewed as a puzzle made up of 4 pieces or questions. And what I like about presenting career exploration as a puzzle is that whilst each individual piece in itself has merit and value, the beauty actually resides in the picture presented as a whole. And yes, I'm giving a nod here to Gestalt theory. So the questions that make up the career exploration puzzle, as you can see, are: who am I? Why is work important to me? What do I most like to do? And where would I most enjoy doing it? And these 4 questions and subsequent findings enhance our self-knowledge, which, as I have shared in a previous slide, is the foundation for creating lasting change. So instead of looking outward for our career inspiration, the Career Explorer instead turns inward, because the goal is to identify a career pathway that fits with our unique preferences, not the other way around. So we'll go next slide, please, Matt. Thank you. So who is a career explorer? A career explorer is someone who is planning for an impending or experiencing a current life transition, either into or within the world of work. And reasons for these may be entering senior years of secondary education, or preparing to leave secondary education, graduating from university and transitioning into the world of work, returning to work after an extended absence, or changing careers. And this may be voluntary or it may be as a result of redundancy. But what I would like to point out is that not everyone will choose to partner with a career exploration coach. There are individuals who have identified their career aspirations at a very young age and they act upon those aspirations. And then there are those who discover their career pathway via self-directed career exploration activities. And finally, there are those individuals who benefit from career exploration coaching. And the reasons for this are as unique as each individual themselves. But what I have found, however, is that there are recurring themes as to why someone may be grappling with identifying a viable career pathway. And the coaching partnership can overcome these barriers. Some examples may be feelings of overwhelm, anxiousness or confusion, all of which can lead to commitment anxiety and or procrastination. There may be conflict with career influences, and this is more common among high school students and teens and sometimes university graduates. And by this I mean the expectations of others may drown out individual career aspirations. There may be a loss of enthusiasm for self-directed career exploration. We're in the fortunate position of time and place of being able to easily access an abundance of career information. But sometimes the guidance, support, and accountability provided by the coaching partnership can make all the difference. And sometimes I find my clients are not tapping into their network of supporters, bridging people, mentors, or role models. Or they may be feeling disconnected from the world of work following an extended absence. They may perceive a lack of resources, whether that be finance, knowledge, people, and or time. Or there may be undiscovered self-awareness, which in itself is critical for successful career exploration. We'll go to the next slide. Thank you, Matt. So career exploration coaching in action. In a nutshell, there are 4 elements that are absolutely necessary when developing a coaching package and also when career exploration coaching individual sessions is also in play. The first one is modality, which basically refers to how the coaching is delivered. Is it in person, online, or is it a hybrid offering, which has become very popular with a global pandemic as of March 2020? And how is the coaching delivered? Is it one-on-one? Is coaching taking place within a group setting? And for example, I offer individual coaching in person and or online. In terms of frequency, I recommend weekly or fortnightly sessions, but I'm more than happy to fit in with my clients' needs in relation to this. And the third element is content. And by this I mean the structure not only of the coaching package, but also individual coaching sessions. I want my clients to experience a sense of progress each and every session they attend. And lastly, takeaways or homework, though I don't like to use the word homework because of the negative connotation. So takeaways, designed not only to act as a connector from one coaching session to the next, but to maintain momentum, foster learning, and promote reflection. Takeaways can provide a real sense of progress because those aha moments are not limited to the coaching space. Takeaways allow for new connections to be made, and more often than not, this will take place outside of the coaching space. So, in essence, the value and extension of coaching resides here with takeaways. We'll go to the next. Thank you. Okay, so outcomes, and this is really important, and some of these are tangible and others are intangible. But what all client groups have in common is their shared experience of an impending or current life transition. So, in terms of outcomes, my clients can expect enhanced self awareness, and I like to call this thinking about our careers from the inside out. Expanded opportunity awareness. We only know what we know, and sometimes we can end up in a place where we don't wish to be. So, tapping into new knowledge, accessing new information can help us expand our lens on the world of work. Increased confidence around decision making and taking purposeful action. In essence, knowledge is power, and the more we get to know ourselves, the greater our confidence becomes in not only making decisions, but also acting on our decisions. And my clients actually get inspired and energized about their future. Coaching is a future focused activity and so complements the career exploration activity beautifully. The structure, content, and materials I share with my clients enhances their self-knowledge, but also makes visible what is invisible. It expands the language they use to identify and or communicate who they are, why work is important to them, what they enjoy doing, and where they would enjoy doing it. Again, coming back to the career exploration puzzle. And coaching also fosters an understanding of the career exploration process so that moving forward, my clients can feel confident to undertake self-directed career exploration. In essence, they become their own coach. And my final point is the understanding and freedom of self-determination, particularly when discussing career pathways. We all should embrace the opportunity to take control of our own career narratives. And my last slide, please, Matt. Thank you. So I'd like to end my presentation with a quote by Dr. Jim Bright, a doyen of the career development profession. And my reasoning is twofold. Firstly, during the activity of career exploration, opportunity awareness research provides us with an expanded lens on the world of work. And secondly, as we participate in our career journey, our ability to read the surrounding environment, to spot opportunities and to act on those opportunities always reminds me of the Dr. Seuss book titled Oh, the Places You'll Go, which also comfortably shifts our collective focus onto our next speaker. So I do hope I have indeed attended to all your questions. If you have any additional questions, we can respond to these, as Matt said, during Q&A. So thank you so much for listening.
Cool. Thank you for that. That was good. Thank you. So this will bring us quite nicely onto Kayleen, who's going to be giving her chat. Hopefully, it did look like there were a couple of technical issues as she was cutting in and out during that presentation, but we will see how it goes. Worst comes to worst, what we'll do is we'll record it off screen, and then in the video on demand, I'll slice it in so that it's available for everyone to see. But I will just bring up the presentation for her, and we can share that screen and get that going as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Kayleen Martin and I'm the founder of Ripple. And in this presentation I hope to share with you some interesting information and some great tips on getting hired in today's market with Ripple Recruitment. On your smartphones, before we get started, can you please go to www.menti.com and then type in the code 24973103. There you have the option to put in 5 words that describe what you or how you feel when you think about applying for jobs. I'd be grateful of having the information. It helps me build a word cloud and helps me understand people's current perception of the market and getting hired. So I'll just give you a few moments to do that for me. Thank you. Previous word clouds that I've built based on that question have clearly shown that applying for jobs is not everyone's idea of having fun. So shortly, I'll explain to you who Ripple is and how Ripple Recruitment can assist you in that process. I'll just give you a few more seconds. Okay, so Ripple is a local business here on the Hibiscus Coast. We have specialists throughout the North Island and we service clients throughout New Zealand. There are 3 types of recruiter. You have the recruitment agents like myself, you have the employers and business owners, and then you have hiring managers. And those are managers within a business who don't actually have a financial share in the business. So a recruitment agent is not a job finder. So first of all, I just want to clarify that. We work for the client company, not the job seeker. However, I do encourage you to register with us at Ripple, and you can do that from our Contact Us page. When we get a new vacancy, the first thing we do is conduct a digital search of our registrations to identify who is already on our books and meets the criteria of our clients. So if you are there, then you can be on our radar and you will show in these searches. If you are not, then we don't know that you are available. The next point I want to touch on is recruiters are everywhere. You never know who is watching you, listening to you, and assessing your social media. So let me give you some simple examples to illustrate what I mean by this statement. So I often recruit for call centres. If I contact a company and an exceptional operator serves me, I will sometimes ask them if they are looking for a new employment opportunity. If they are, then I have just identified a potential new hire for one of my clients, and they may have been given the next great work opportunity. As a recruiter, my eyes and ears are always open to discovering new talent. So knowing this, or you knowing this in particular, is important here on the Hibiscus Coast because we are a small local community. You'll never know who is scouting for new hires. The same goes for how you handle yourself on social media platforms. So for example, if you are a keyboard warrior and I notice you, it is highly unlikely, I'm afraid, that I would consider you a suitable potential hire for any of my company clients. So just be mindful of the digital footprint that you leave behind. Okay, so let's take a look at our talent agent service. This is quite a unique service here in New Zealand, but with my talent agent hat on, I am a job finder. I am the person you want after you have worked with Bronwyn and gone down the pathway of your career discovery. So for a fee, you can commission me to find your next job of choice. So a quote here from Confucius: choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. So basically, when you approach me, this is what we try to find for you, the job that you will love. So how it works, we start by discussing what you are seeking, what you have to offer, who you are interested in working for, who may be interested in you. And then I become your champion and cheerleader, promoting you into the marketplace, marketing your skills and ability and experience, and if necessary, maintaining your anonymity, which is essential in some small industry or niche sectors. So although there is no guarantee with this service, your opportunities for success are significant. Okay, onto our document writing service. So you'll never get a second chance to make a first impression, and this is never more true than with your employment documents. So we write CVs and cover letters, but you may also need other employment documents when you apply to a position, and those could be portfolios and certificates. Some industries require those. And if you are not a New Zealand citizen, then you will need your visa and residency certificates. Also in this, it loosely is your LinkedIn profile and online footprint. So I won't go into that too much, except to say clean up your digital footprint, because it is probable a potential employer and agent like myself will scope you out online at some stage during the screening process. So great documents are essential because you literally have seconds for your documents to impress. Recruiters will pick up a document, eyeball it, and if you haven't impressed them sufficiently to keep them reading, then you lose, basically. They're essential also because with repatriations and redundancies, the market has become more fierce than pre-COVID-19, and your competition numbers have increased significantly. Your documents also need to beat the bots. So bots are software used to perform repetitive tasks. So in the case of recruiting, it is screening your CV and sometimes your cover letters. So they are used by some recruitment agencies and larger companies. And there is no way of knowing if your CV will have to beat a bot before it is seen by a human. So there are many techniques that have to be applied to achieve this, and our writers will apply these for you. So some quick tips, first of all, your cover letters. Always include one, whether you ask for one or not. Personalise it to the reader. Adapt it to the position. Apply a formal design and formatting. Then your CV design, you need a Word, not PDF format, and no headers or footers. So those are two techniques used to beat the bots. You need an easily readable font. Calibri font size 12 is a good one. Let's look at your content. You need to include your personal statement and other key CV sections. You need to explain any employment gaps and don't include referees. It's not necessary to include your referees at this point. Finally, make doubly sure you have included all the information the advertiser has requested. So in this market, I urge you not to DIY your CV. Unless you are trained in this area. It's a quality CV or professionally prepared CV is going to stand out every time. So 95% of CVs are poorly prepared. That's 95%. Poorly prepared and presented. So if you are not in the best 5%, you will lose because the professional CV will beat you every time. Okay, so let's move along. Let's have a look at the document writing services that we can offer, and you can see these at ripple.net.nz/writing-services. So I encourage you to go in and take a look at what we offer. So we have a team of experienced writers, a number of package options, and our services are priced fairly to meet the market, and we are renowned for providing top quality results. So our products start with a personalised CV review and comments and tip sheet package. So if you have already got your CV professionally prepared, or you've prepared it and you think it's great, we can review it for you. And that's just $75 plus GST. The next package then moves on to school leavers. So a CV there starts at 105 plus GST, and our final package is for income earners sort of around the $120,000, $150,000 per annum. We also offer cover letter bundles, so remembering that cover letters must be customised to each vacancy. Okay, now look at interview coaching service. We offer a seminar called Nail That Interview. So attendees can attend this in person or online, and you will learn how to be effective in face-to-face and Zoom interviews, prepare for the occasion, get excited and get confident, understand what the recruiter wants before you go to the interview, and you will learn how to prepare for the unexpected situations and questions. You will also learn how to ask for the job. In the future or shortly, we will also be offering a digital audio-visual version of the seminar that you can purchase and watch when you need it. Okay. So, job seeking is a job. Success is how high you bounce when you hit bottom, according to General George Patton. And job seeking is serious and it can be tough. So don't let rejection keep you down, bounce back. So I've already mentioned that repatriations and redundancies mean the competition is fierce. So get ready to bounce. So let me offer you 5 key tips to help you along. Tip number 1, know what you want and what you have to offer. So, for example, if retail interests you, what you have to offer may be that you are great with people, you are well presented, and you're happy to work on your feet all day. So that might be 3 things. Let's say it's landscaping you're interested in. So you might offer that you love to work alone, you love flora and fauna, and you can do a great day's work with little supervision. Okay, tip number 2, commit to the process. So ask yourself if you want the job enough to commit several hours a day and several days a week to job seeking. If the answer is yes, then commit and stick to it. Tip number 3, focus. It's very easy to get distracted by people and life. It's also easy to start applying to jobs you don't really want, especially when we start feeling a bit desperate. But both of these will make you lose your focus, they'll slow down your progress, and they'll result in lost opportunities. So stay focused. Tip number 4, let people know you are looking. So word of mouth and networking activities are your friend. Get talking and meeting people. You never know where other people can take you on this journey. So, for example, you might tell a friend's mum that you are looking for work in landscaping, and she might know, or she might have a friend whose son owns a landscaping business, and she might mention you to that friend, and hello, he might just be looking for a worker. Okay, tip number 5, beat the streets. So pick up the phone and go door to door, asking about potential work opportunities. Make those strategic though. Don't go for landscaping if you prefer retail. So focus strategically on the areas you want. Find the courage and find a person who will cheer you on and pump you up. Employers love this approach. It shows initiative, a willingness to work, and it makes their life easier because now they don't have to work on filling that vacancy. Moving along, remember, if you are registered with us, you are on our radar and we can consider you for suitable opportunities. If you have the budget, I can help you find your next great opportunity. And our writing team can prepare your employment documents, giving you a professional, effective CV and cover letters. Remember, you can attend our in-person or online Nail That Interview coaching seminars, and you can email us at team@ripple.net.nz, and we can keep you updated on future seminars and our digital audio version. We are an amazing local service, and we love to support our Hibiscus Coast community, so please take advantage of what we have to offer. You can search us up at ripple.net.nz. But lastly, if I can just ask you to go back to menti.com and enter the code 51414570, and there you'll find 4 scales statements. I would really appreciate it if you would use the slider to let me know what, if any, actions you will take after seeing this presentation. So thank you for watching. I hope you got some valuable information there, and I look forward to working with you in the future, and I wish you success in your search. Bye for now.
Well, move straight on to Bronwyn from Davenports in that case. So if you have any questions for Kayleen, you can pop them in the chat or fire them through to the info@Silverdale Business email, and we can pass those on, and we can add those to the video on demand as well. But for now, I will hand it over to Bronwyn from Davenports just to talk about her experience and basically give you a few tips on how to land the job that you.
Thanks, Matt. Kia ora everyone, my name is Bronwyn Newcombe. I'm a director at Davenports Law, which is based in Albany, and I lead the employment law team. And just very keen for some questions, if you do have them, to fire them through and make the most of Bronwyn and my time. But I thought I'd just give some tips and tricks as to what I've noticed over the years, both as an employment lawyer, but also having been involved in lots of recruitment for our company, but also for lots of our clients. And I guess the starting point for me is I sat in on the Hayes Recruitment Company salary and feedback survey that was done for 2019 and 2020, and the results came through, and there was a big seminar yesterday. And it certainly is an employee market at the moment. So it's very buoyant out there in terms of looking for new work and being able to negotiate terms and conditions that favour the employee. The presenters talked about it almost as the bounce back that we've seen in lots of product and service companies is also now happening in the employment space. So when we were in lockdown last year, lots of businesses retracted a little bit, couldn't open their doors. And then following April, May, June, when everybody got back out there, there was a bit of a bounce back, and lots of businesses have actually done reasonably well in the year to date, even though we did have the lockdown last year. And similarly, last year, from an employee perspective, lots of employees stayed where they were. Lots of people were dealing with, pay reductions, hour reductions, and everybody really retrenched in terms of not looking for new work, staying where they were, trying to ride out what was a really difficult year for everybody. But now that's changed. Lots of people are looking for new work. The demand in terms of roles are quite difficult from an employer's perspective. And certainly the feedback from Hayes is that the market is buoyant and really an employee's market. So once you have worked through something like what Bronwyn was talking about and figured out what role or what type of role is going to best suit you and your values, your needs, your wants, your passions, then I will give you some tips and tricks as to how to land that job in an employee buoyant market. I guess from my perspective, some of the no-brainers for me are things like making sure that your CV is up to date, looks completely professional. I would be advocating to even pay someone who's an expert in that area to do it for you, because often the receipt of a CV from a company's perspective is the very first impression they're going to have of you. And if that CV looks smart, outstanding, there's a really good cover letter that goes with it, then you'll immediately go to the top of the pile in terms of what an employer is looking for. So that's my first tip around how to land a job. The second tip is around networking, and this can be difficult. Lots of people find networking quite hard. I do it a lot for my job, but some days I find it easier than others. But one of the good ways of trying to get a job is to use the networks that you have. So it may be that there's a family friend who's in the industry that you've identified as an industry that would suit you. So trying to use that connection, even to do some work experience or volunteer work in an organisation in that industry, would be really useful. You can then put that on your CV, which again will immediately jump you to the top of the pile over other candidates who don't have any experience. And even in terms of securing that job, if you can use your networks, often jobs aren't even advertised. And so a company that might be looking to recruit, if you've gone and done some volunteer work in that company, they might decide that they do need a role in that area, and that would just be offered to you as someone who already has a foot in the door in that industry. Attending events as well. So again, this is networking, going to association networking events, or there's often after 5 functions, which is for local businesses. Again, anybody can go to those, and it's a real chance to network and find out more about the businesses or industries that you might be looking at. And once you've identified, the area that you want to work in, you might have identified a few of the top companies that are on your list, and you might have secured an interview for that company. One of the biggest tips I would have is to research that company and come to the interview prepared with knowledge of what the company does, who's in the company, what the company's values are, and have some really clever and smart questions around what you want to find out about how that company operates. And it really does put the employer on a more of an equal playing field for you, because not only are they interviewing you and trying to find out more about you and your skills and values, but you're also interviewing them, and get them to talk about themselves, get them to communicate to you how they operate and what kind of a culture and fit their workplace has. The other thing to consider is there are some not-for-profit organisations out there that help people get back into the workplace. One that comes to mind readily is Dress for Success, which is a not-for-profit. I think it might be particularly for women who have perhaps been off work through maternity leave, through childcare, and it provides resources, particularly around clothes, for people getting back into the professional workspace. And they may also provide counselling and mentoring around that confidence building piece, which can be difficult for people re-entering the workplace. And I guess I will just touch on another aspect of that, and that research shows that women applying for jobs might see a job advert in the paper. There might be 10 skills that are required for that role, and a woman will typically look at that job description and see that 4 of those bullet point of skills that the woman can't do, and she won't apply for the job. Whereas a man will typically look at that job description, will see 4 of the skills that he can't do, and he'll apply anyway, thinking, well, I'll learn it as I go, I'll fake it till I make it, or I'll be fine. And so if there are women on this call, I guess my advice to you is to act as if, and to recognise that a lot of women in particular, also some men I'm sure, but women in particular have what's called the imposter syndrome, and so won't apply for jobs unless they know they can nail it from the start, or will feel that they don't have the requisite skills or confidence or characteristics to do the job. And so my advice is to just do it anyway, is to fake it till you make it. If you've identified that that is the industry that you're passionate about, if it fits with your career logic that Bronwyn was talking about, and you've identified it as being part of your value set, even if you can't do all of the skills that are noted in the job description, I would be saying to do it anyway, because all businesses provide training, support. There's not an expectation that you'd hit the ground running from day one in almost all jobs. And so my advice would be to recognise that research exists, and that is often the typical way that women will respond, but to do it anyway. So those are my tips and tricks, Matt, but yes, very keen if there are any specific questions from anyone. Bronwyn and I and Kayleen, if she can get through on her technology, would be very, very happy to assist.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That was good. Rather insightful. We did have a couple of questions that were sent through via email beforehand that people wanted us to answer that couldn't actually attend during the time. So I'll answer those before, or ask those before getting to the ones that have been popped in the chat. So we've got here, what is most effective in terms of outcomes, either face-to-face or online coaching? So I assume that's actually to Bronwyn from Career Logic.
Okay, yes, I think that is mine. Most effective in terms of face-to-face or online, I think prior to March 2020, with the arrival of COVID, face-to-face coaching was very much favoured. And that is because the dynamic, the coaching partnership, the coaching relationship, building that rapport, that trust, is believed, or was believed, to have been achieved much better within a physical space, sharing space, face to face. Post March 2020, I would say that thinking is rapidly changing, and technology has very much come into the coaching space, where previously we would say face-to-face coaching, absolutely, it would dominate, and telephone, Zoom would be a consideration. But now it is, I guess, more a hybrid environment where clients can choose whether they would like to meet face to face, whether they would like to experience Zoom coaching. And I have done that both here in Auckland as well as having a client in Munich. And what I can say from personal experience, and what the industry as a whole is starting to understand and experience, is that relationship can also be just as valuable online as face-to-face. The platform, absolutely, very different, but that ability to connect with another human being is just as valuable and just as worthwhile online. So I hope I've answered that question.
Oh, thank you. There's another one here that was sent through via email that's obviously for you as well, which is, I'm a job hopper. Is this career exploration in action?
I like that. I like that. Answer to that, quite simply, is yes. I guess the idea of job hopping, or the reception of a job hopper, as you describe yourself, is a lot more commonplace now. We are in a very different space in terms of how our careers are experienced, as well as received. So the landscape has completely changed. So if you're a job hopper and you identify as a job hopper, I think that's great. Yes, it is career exploration in action. But I guess my question to you would be, is why the job hopping, and what is motivating that? What is the reason behind that? What is your why? Are we talking about a value mismatch? Is it perhaps you defining your own success? I'd be really curious about that. But yes, if that is what you enjoy, that is fantastic. We use language such as the gig economy, portfolio careers now. So your job hopping, I believe, is in good company.
All right. This one here, I'm going to bring Bronwyn from Davenports up in both of you there, because I believe you'll both have insight into this question. But this one is, I'm in my 50s. Is it too late to make a career change?
Bronwyn?
Yeah, my view is no, totally not. So the whole working career has gone from, someone retiring at 65, that's been pushed way, way, way up now. And so I guess the first step would be, I think, is to do something what Bronwyn's company does, to really identify the why and the what, so that you're really clear on what that pathway is, and then really make a plan around what steps you need to take to get into that industry. So from my perspective, absolutely not.
I totally agree. And I think, I have to use my own example. I'm in my 50s and I have experienced a career change and I have returned to the workforce. So it can be done. And I think also what is particularly important to recognise, and I hear this a lot also, is that I don't have the skills to make the jump to an industry of choice or to pursue a new career pathway. But I actually disagree with that, because clients that I have worked with previously, we all have transferable skills, and whilst we may be subject matter experts or in a highly specialised role, we will also have transferable skills that we can take to get momentum in terms of our career change. And the other point I'd like to make is that attitude is really important. Those soft skills are really important, just as much as the skills that you will take across with you. So it's skill, but it's also attitude, it's mindset. And we often hear the term growth mindset, along with lifelong learning and agility. And absolutely, we can be all those things in our 50s. And Bronwyn touched on this earlier in terms of having a plan, being planful, thinking about your resources, that being finance, people who can support you, accessing the knowledge you need to propel you to your next location. And whether that's going to be a deep dive change or whether it's a pivot, but yes, please be planful.
Thank you. So there's a few other questions that have come through. So we've got one here that it's kind of I guess actually I can compound two of these questions. So what this will be for Bronwyn from Davenports. What are some of the questions that I should ask in an interview? And is the question, how or where do you see yourself in 5 years, vital to be vital to being hired?
Yeah, great questions. I'm just thinking, I was in an interview yesterday actually, and someone asked how the business responded to COVID-19. So what on a technology front, on a pastoral care front, on a client servicing front. So they were really interested to know, how we operated and what we did for our staff, for our clients, and from a technology perspective. So that was a good question from recent experience. But also I think the values piece is really important. So lots of individual employees now are wanting to work in an organisation that not only pays appropriately, but also has appropriate culture, and that's all part and parcel, I guess, of the Me Too era and the rise of people knowing that they can claim workplace bullying, and that being a term that's now completely unacceptable, whereas 20, 30 years ago, we didn't really have language around what was acceptable from a bullying perspective in the workplace. So that was probably where I'd start, is I'd ask about what the values of the firm are. I'd ask, what are the things that are most important to the firm. You could ask how the firm was founded, who was the founders of the firm, what was their vision, what was their culture. So I guess that's where I'd start. And the second question, yes, I think that's a typical HR question around, Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to have achieved after 7 years? And I guess that's the business wanting to understand how ambitious you are. And do you have ambition to be growing from a career perspective in the company? And I guess what the business is trying to do is understand from a resource perspective what that looks like, to understand whether you're an employee. In HR speak, there's often a term that employees can be rocks or they can be growth employees, and neither is better than the other. It's just a way of categorising individuals in the workplace. And so someone who's a rock may be very, very content to stay in a similar type of role for quite some time. They get a lot of satisfaction out of their job, a lot of satisfaction out of doing their job very well, and are very sort of technically good at what they do. Then you might have someone who's more in the growth category of employees, who want to climb up the ladder a bit more in terms of roles and promotions, and a kind of need more mentoring and opportunity from a growth perspective in order to be retained in the business. So that question might be from an employer's perspective, trying to understand perhaps which of those two loose categories you might fit into, and where you see yourself going. So I guess in terms of landing that job, I would be thinking about what you want, and are you wanting growth and ambition in the firm, but also in the company, but also thinking of what might be attractive from the company's perspective, and what they're wanting to really find out about by asking that question, so you can predict the kinds of things that you need to be prepping to answer.
Okay. I guess following on from that, just a question that I thought of while you were answering it. And it's probably quite a difficult one to answer, but how would you work out what the company is after? So whether they are after a rock, or they're wanting someone to grow and end up. I've previously, when I've interviewed for jobs, turned around and said, I want your job within 5 years. And from one sense, I see that as, yes, that is true to myself, because I want to be ambitious and push forward. But at the same time, is something like that going to scare off that person or that a company from employing somebody like that? And if so, how do we determine, or how do we work that out before answering the question?
Yeah, it's a great question, and Matt, that's really practical feedback around how you navigate that. I guess from a research perspective, I'd be looking at the company's website, just figuring out, is it a startup company? Is it a well-established company that's been around for some time? How many staff have they got? Again, does it look like it's in a growth phase? Does it look like it's in a established phase, to work out a bit more about what's going on for them? But then, to be honest, I mean, you've got to be true to yourself. If you're an ambitious person, you don't want to be saying that you're not. But it might be around the language that you use to make sure you don't come across perhaps too strong, but also communicate that you are an ambitious person and you really love challenges, you really love growth. So it might be that, it might be communicating it in that way, that you're someone who really likes to grow, you're a quick learner, you are ambitious, but at the moment you're just taking it, step by step, and this is the first step that you're looking at the moment. So something like that may indicate that you are ambitious and have growth ideas, but you're not saying, I want to be CEO, within 3 years, which might be, for some employers, that might be a bit challenging to hear.
No, thank you. So we've got two more questions. The first one is, what is the difference between coaching and mentoring?
Okay, that sounds like me. Good question. Mentoring, they are quite different. Mentoring, I would describe as very similar to the role of teacher and student. The mentor generally is in a position of seniority to the mentee, and he or she will be a subject matter expert and will be dispensing knowledge, guidance, in terms of the mentee's career. Where if I look at coaching, coaching is an egalitarian partnership. I very much come from the view of the humanists, that my clients come to me whole and resourceful, that they are their own expert, and my role as a coach is in partnership to guide or facilitate my client's change process. So it is not a teacher-student relationship, it is a partnership of equals, and it is a coactive partnership where both have responsibility for successful coaching outcomes. That's possibly most succinctly that, yes, I can explain the difference.
Okay. And then the last one, and again, this is for you as well. What would you say to my teenage son who doesn't know what he wants to do?
Relax. Yes, I think there is a really good paper written by Russell Booth, who is a career expert in the Hawke's Bay, and he's done quite a bit of research into the neuroscience of teenagers making, or adolescents, I will say adolescents, making career choice, career decisions. And I think it depends on development of the brain, maturity, I guess it's maturity, whether one is residing in the emotional brain or in the executive brain. And that is a very interesting paper. And again, if someone would like me to forward that to them, I can do that. But essentially what Russell Booth is talking about, and I very much support this, is that everyone comes to their career at different times. We all develop differently, and we can't expect our teenagers to be making definitive career decisions in high school and say, yes, this is what I want to do. And I think it's very brave if the teenager can say, I don't know what to do. And that's why I say relax. Number one, because he or she or they will want the best for them, as we do as career influence. We want the best for them. But I think we need to have confidence as parents, caregivers, grandparents, that they too want what is best for them. And sometimes that may be a gap year. And my disclaimer to that is that the gap year is planful, it's purposeful, and there are outcomes of that gap year. Some may take through to mid-20s to come to a point where they are happy to pursue a career pathway on the back of investigation and identification. So I have a 12-year-old. So if he came to me at 18 and said, look, I just don't know what I want to do, I'd just say, just take a deep breath, because we are talking about the rest of their lives. We're wanting them to make the best decisions based on knowledge and information that they have now. And those decisions are not forever. Those decisions are for now and will inform purposeful action now. I find sometimes that teenagers adolescents are overwhelmed with the concept of career and forever and for the next 45, 50 years. And I like to chunk that down. There is a saying in coaching that the question is, or actually a question is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer to that is one spoonful at a time. So it's about chunking down the overwhelm and dealing with the here and now. So quite simply, yes, it's not a big deal. Go with your teenager and perhaps see a career exploration coach.
Well, that brings us on very nicely to the last sort of part, which is how can people get in touch with you? So I guess we'll start with you, Bronwyn, Career Logic. How do people get in touch with you?
Sure. I have a website, careerlogic.co.nz. My telephone number 021 4188 22. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn, Career Logic.
Perfect, thank you. And Bronwyn again from Davenports. If someone wants to contact you, how do they do that?
Website's probably the best. And just Matt, just to finish, following on from what Bronwyn was just talking about with the 19-year-old, I was listening to a really great Brené Brown podcast the other day. It's with her and Tim Ferriss, and she was talking about parenting and just reflected what Bronwyn was just saying, encouraging her teenage daughter to try lots of things and not to be pigeonholed into thinking, that achievement just means you do engineering, doctor, lawyer, whatever. It doesn't. And so really trying to find what it is that unlocks that passion, and that might need to take several goes at different things before you find it. And exactly what Bronwyn also said was just to relax. So that was amazing. So just finish on that. Thank you.
Cool. So just to confirm, that's davenportslaw.co.nz.
That is. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. No worries. Cool. That's all the questions that we had. I would like to thank both of you for taking the time to have this chat.
Welcome.
Kayleen, who unfortunately couldn't do her presentation, but we'll add that in afterwards and get that out to everybody so they still get everything. And also, again, thank you to Business Whangaparaoa and Destination Orewa Beach for helping us put this on. And we'll continue to do some as we go forward. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
everyone.
Thanks, Bronwyn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.